Hi, I'm Emily and I'm the Castle Girl. Today I'm at Dunure Castle. Dunure Castle sits on a rocky outcrop on the Carrick coast overlooking the Firth of Clyde, above the small harbour village of Dunure, around 5 miles south from the town of Ayr on the west coast of Scotland. The earliest castle on the site would have been built in the 12th century and would have been a stone keep. This may have been built by the Danes or Norwegian Vikings. Dunure was one of the main seats and stronghold of the Kennedy family. Historical records state that the estate of Dunure was confirmed to John de Kennedy in 1357. The Kennedys were the lords of Carrick, and legend has it that they captured Dunure after defeating the Norwegians at the Battle of Largs in 1263. This was under the rule of the Scots king Alexander III. The Kennedys later became the Earls of Cassilis. The Kennedys claimed to be related to the Earl of Carrick and supported Robert the Bruce during the Scottish Wars of Independence in 1372. Robert II of Scotland rewarded John Kennedy of Dunure as chief of his name and Baillie of Carrick. It was over the 14th and 15th centuries that the Kennedy family extended and transformed the castle from a tower house into an enclosure castle. During this time, a further 6-storey tower was built, a chapel, a great hall, a kitchen range and a prison, all of which would have been protected by a gatehouse tower and further outer defence walls to increase its prominent cliff-top position. There is a ducat shaped like a beehive on the site, which dates to the 1400s. These are the remains that we can see today. It was documented by Captain Francis Gross in 1790 that underneath the castle is a cave called Brownie's Cave, which may have been a secret tunnel leading to the castle. In 1429, it is noted that John Moore MacDonald, who represented the Lord of the Isles, met at Dunure Castle with James Campbell, who was acting on behalf of King James I of Scotland. This was in order to settle some disputes, and the castle during this time was a point of neutral territory. The meeting resulted in a violent attack, and John MacDonald was killed. In order to appease the MacDonalds, King James had James Campbell executed. This did not pacify the MacDonalds, and they continued further uprisings against royal outposts. The Kennedy family rose in peerage as one member, Sir James Kennedy, younger of Dunure, married Lady Mary Stuart, the daughter of King Robert III of Scotland. His son went on to become the Bishop of St Andrews and the founder of St Salvator's College. The family name and Dunure Castle continued to prosper. It was David Kennedy, who was the third Lord Kennedy, who also became the first Earl of Cassilis, a newly created title in 1509. The most notable Kennedy, however, to be associated with Dunure Castle was the 4th Earl Gilbert, nicknamed the King of Carrick. During the Reformation in 1560, landowners and lairds attempted to take control of the lands and properties previously held by abbeys across Scotland. Greedy Gilbert managed to take some of the lands of Glenluce Abbey in Galloway using forceful measures. Gilbert entered into an agreement with the abbot, who died before the transaction was completed. He reportedly then paid a monk to copy the adept's handwriting, drawing up deeds and forging the signatures of all the members of the convent. However, for fear of the monk revealing his fraud, he paid a peasant to kill the monk. Now fearing the monk would reveal his scheme, he had him accused of theft and then hung for this concocted crime. In 1565, he went on to gain control of Crossraguel Abbey in Maybole, using similar unscrupulous and aggressive methods. He kidnapped the commendator of the abbey at the time, Alan Stewart. He held him at Dunure Castle and proceeded to roast him over the kitchen's fire until he agreed to sign the estates of the abbey over to him. Stewart finally agreed after being turned twice on the spit over the flames. This led to Thomas Kennedy of Bargany, a relative of Gilbert, to attack the castle to free Alan Stewart. The reason being, he wanted the abbey estate for himself. However, Thomas was besieged by a large force of Gilberts in the castle keep. This battle of forces resulted in significant damage to Dunure Castle's structure. The outcome, although a bit unclear, resulted in Gilbert Kennedy keeping the abbey lands but having to pay compensation to Alan Stewart by means of a monetary pension for life. Mary Queen of Scots stayed at Dunure Castle for 3 days from August the 4th in 1563 as a guest of Gilbert Kennedy. This was part of a tour around Scotland during her reign at the time. Dunure Castle was in ruins by the 18th century, with most of the stone then being quarried for buildings around the area. It became an intriguing tourist attraction around the middle of the 19th century, which halted any further desolation to the structure. The castle has been made safe for part public access and is now a popular picturesque visitor attraction of this part of the Ayrshire coastline. Thanks for watching. I look forward to visiting a castle near you. Bye!